with the 3 candidates that are left for police chief. But it begs the question, there's another thing, that we've had a lot of dysfunction in the Fire and Police Commission over these last few years, and especially this year. So I want you all each to give me your impressions about where we are in terms of how we need to administer and how we need to attack who is going to be the next police chief in the city of Milwaukee. Give the floor to whoever wants to go first.
Well, me personally, you know, I was very involved in the process, even during the selection of Chief Alfonso Morales, where we were very adamant that community should have input on who our chief should be after fleeing. We were under the impression that the community would have input in that process. We were told something different, that he would be the interim chief for the moment, and then there would be a process after that. That didn't happen. And so after his demotion, we were very adamant that that process and that promise need to be delivered on, and that the community should have input on who our next chief should be. Because one, I pushed back on giving opportunity to someone from outside of the city who had no roots to the city, no ties to the city, because that was a huge issue that we had with Flynn. But then I also kind of have had reservations with supporting Brunson, because he was part of that staff and that regime of Morales. And so the same way when Clark left and Schmidt was still there, I just felt that it wouldn't have been a good fit to keep him, that we needed to engage that process, involve the community, and bring in somebody, one, who's going to have a balance. Morales said all the right things initially. I think everybody gave him the benefit of the doubt that there would be a difference maker there, and he just didn't hold true to his word. And he honestly ended up doing a lot of things that were so contrary to what his initial messaging was, that it just became apparent that there would be no chance there to give after giving so many chances. And so with the state of our city, with the state of the affairs that are still left with the I can't remember what they call them, but the things that they asked the Chief Morales to deliver on, those things still need to be delivered on. Those things still need to be handled, and some of those are long overdue. The DLJ draft report, a lot of the ACLU, so much stuff that has not been done since Flynn. How much time do we need? We need somebody who's going to get on those things, get them delivered, and start the department off with a new clean slate, and have a balance about being about officers, but being about the community as well.
Are you confident in that regard that the Fire and Police Commission is up to the task, considering all of the dysfunction that we've seen in the Fire and Police Commission over the last few years?
I know there's a lot of internal battles, a lot of internal things. This also falls on the mayor again about not appointing all of the seats that were available. We have been adamant about suggesting folks to be on those seats. The mayor has the power to make that happen. Paul Mozina, Khalil Coleman, those are two people that we've been very adamant that he should look into on appointing that board. We've just recently had a former officer with current children on the force. So if you can put somebody like that on the board, then definitely people who are very balanced and community orientated should have a chance to be on that board as well. It's supposed to be a community review board, not a mayor's handpick. You know what I mean? Because that's where we get the issues and the conflict of doing the right thing and making these investigations and these decisions have the balance that is there. I do, however, have some faith in some of those folks that are there, that they are invested and that they have the right frame of mind to get this decision made. I'm kind of confused as the rest of us is about the state of things that have been going on in the past. I'm like, what is this? So I don't know about that, but I do know that this process needs to happen, and that we should be able to trust that they can get it done.
And I want to talk to Pastor Linker. I am glad that you're coming into these community issues, and you have them, more so than some others that I can say. But I'm glad to see it, and I want to know from you as a leader of your church, and many of these people are Milwaukee residents, and you have a great deal of What are you hearing from some of your members about what needs to be done in the city of Milwaukee and how they are looking at who should be our next police chief and how do we get a handle on what's going on in the city?
Thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be on the show this morning. And I think, as my brother articulated, and you also at the lead-in, there's so many issues as it relates to the homicide rate. What we're seeing now, this just overwhelming number of vehicles that are driving recklessly. Many of them no longer have registration license plates. It's just becoming a community of chaos, to some degree. And many of my congregants, they don't feel safe. They have concerns about going out. What time of the day should they get out and be engaged in community because of some of the things that are threatening to them. And so I think in this whole process of trying to identify the next police chief, the irony is that as Vaun mentioned, that it's a civilian oversight commission, the Fine Police Commission, but it's seemingly that the community doesn't have a whole lot to say about who sits on that commission. Mm-hmm. And there have been historical vacant seats. I mean, for many years. Mm-hmm. Years ago, there were only 5, and then myself and some other pastors, we pressed to get some of those seats filled, and I believe that's when Ann Wilson went on, and when Dr. Fred Brothers went on. But there were still some seats vacant. Mm-hmm. And so I don't understand his strategy, and I guess the mayor has never explained why he leaves those seats vacant. Mm-hmm. And then maybe even the whole process of the FPC needs to be reviewed, in that if they are handpicked by the mayor and then sanctioned by the Common Council, where does the community, who do they represent? And so I think this where we are now at this stage, we've come to this point where we're looking at the finalists, and myself and some other pastors of the city, we are putting our support behind one particular candidate, and that's Hoyt. And the reason we're doing that is because Hoyt, as in our press release, it said Hoyt's from here but not of here. And I'm not certain when you were on, I don't know if you remember him there. He spent a short time.
Yeah, he came on.
A short time on the department, and he went away, and he continued a career in law enforcement with the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and he wants to come home. And a number of us met with him, and I think his vision for leading a department of this size, and the things that he would like to see done, the way that he is trying to reach out to other municipalities to bridge the relationships, and he understands through my conversations with him that the top cop in the city that's more of a political position. It's more administrative. You have budget to manage, and you have to build relationships politically to get things done. And I think he's clear about his role in that regard. And that won't be the first time that someone has have gone away and come back. I mean, growing up in this city, I've known all the police chiefs. Harold Breyer was here. Then when he retired, Robert Zarnick, who had retired, and then he came back to serve as
right. He was one of the few that I wish he'd stayed.
Right. And then we did a switch, and then he brought in the Hispanic police chief, Philip Areola. He served his time, and then from there went to Arthur Jones. From there to Nan Haggerty. Nan Haggerty was on the department. She left. She became the U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District. She came back, served as chief. Then,
even while there was a federal lawsuit
right,
5 other black police officers, of which I was one.
Now that's interesting.
And she came back during the Frank Jude that situation. So I think the history of people being from outside coming in is we've seen it before. We've seen what happens when you reach within, and so there is no real fix for this. However, I believe that Hoyt has no political ties. He owes no favors, and of the remaining candidates, he's the only one who is not trying to become chief of police of Milwaukee as a consolation prize. Because the other candidates, my understanding is that they have applications in other municipalities, and so it's wherever, if they can hit the bullseye here, fine. If they miss this one, they could go somewhere else. But his position is that if I don't get this job, I'm going back to the bureau. I'm going back to Atlanta. And so being here, going to school here, growing up here, hey, he's a Rufus King general. So you know, I can.
Well, being a Trojan, I ain't gonna say nothing about that.
Well, I'm a general. I'm a general. So yeah, I got to cheer him on for that. But there are a lot of issues, and some of the things that we're hearing about. And I respect the other organizations and those grassroots movements who are raising questions about some of the unfinished business with the Fire and Police Commission. However, those things were present before they even started the search process.
Right.
So I don't think it would be wise to interrupt the search process and the appointment process to deal with those matters with the ACLU lawsuit, the things from DOJ that that's been going on with the DOJ. Those matters have been coming down. I remember when Marissa was first bringing that, and we were convening down at the Union Hall down on St. Paul, and when it first started happening, and that's just been dragging on and on and on. So hopefully some of those things can be rectified with our new city attorney to kind of get that stuff out of the way, and then maybe we should review the whole process of who sits on the Fire and Police Commission and how much community involvement should be there.
But, you know, I have said often, because I've been exposed to it so long, that I thought that the way the Fire and Police Commission has been put together was lacking in a lot of ways. Because I thought when you're evaluating anything, you need to have people understand, first of all, what you're evaluating, and then you need to have neutral people to look at it from another perspective, and then people looking at it from the opposite end altogether. So I've always thought that on the Police and Fire Police Commission, there should be someone with a police background. There should be someone with a fire department background. There should be someone with a legal background to understand the legal ramifications of what they're doing. There should be somebody from the community, or a lot of people from the community, to basically look at how the decisions may impact the community. And then I've always thought they should have somebody psychological, that deals with psychological on that department, to be able to administer the things that come in front of them. Because as a layperson, many times we don't understand policy. At the same time, if we come and you have all people looking at police, you don't understand sometimes how what you do thoroughly not explained to the public can adversely affect how the public thinks about a particular entity or a particular thing you're dealing with. I said recently that I think that the police department suffers from the lack of having a good PR person. And I've said that for almost any of these departments, because a lot of things can be easily explained if you had somebody who was honest and forthright in terms of just coming out and saying things. And this hush-hush environment we have on these police departments, the idea that only one person can talk. One of the things I said, and I did an experiment here maybe about 3 months ago, where someone called into the station with a question, right? And I've been off the department for a long time. And I thought I knew the answer to this question, but I don't like giving information that I don't think I know to be totally factual. And so he asked a question about 2 different processes, and I thought they were very valid questions and good questions the public needs to know. So I actually reached out to the Office of Public Information at the police department, and the individual that was in charge of it, I actually know. And it took a few days for them to even respond. And then after they did respond, 10 days later, I still didn't have an answer. And after repeated calls and going back and forth, I got one of the 2 answers and never did get the other answer. Now, I say that to say that here you have somebody in public relations. Anybody above the rank of lieutenant in the police department is actually picked as they apply for a position and they're picked. It's not a tested position. So you have command officers on that police department, captains and above. Every one of those command officers make decisions about commanding whole units or whatever. And they should be well versed on anything that's a rule and regulation on the police department. And short of anyone asking something about what the direction the chief wants to go, they should be able to answer any basic question that has anything to do with the operations of the police department. They are administrators on the department, they're command officers, they are the ones who would suggest and put up discipline for other officers, so they should be well versed in any rule and regulations, and any one of them should be able to speak on this. And that brings up another question. Here we have a whole public information office, and here I'm speaking for a lot of people and asking questions that the public is asking me. There could be thousands of people listening to this question, and you won't even get back to me. And yet you have a bureau that has, 5 people, and if you look at benefits, it's at least $100,000 plus per each one of them people. You've got $5 million in a unit within the police department that's serving no real purpose, especially when you have people on duty at all times that are available to answer some of these basic questions. And so if you do a better job at public relations, I think you could beat down a lot of the misinformation that the public has. And then you also have to be honest about the problems within the department itself that we're not hearing, because it's like, motherfucker, we had, I think there was an individual that used to be sheriff here that I find it hard to keep a straight face and say this, but bear with me here. When I started on the department, it was the first person of color that I actually worked with on the police department. And it was problematic to the extent that I never wanted to do that again, and I didn't. But I'll just say that. But when you have an individual that will say that there's no systemic racism in a police department,
It's ridiculous.
it is beyond any kind of comprehension. And so when you make statements like that, and public are seeing some blatant things, and then even behind the scenes some things are acknowledged, it gives people a sense of distrust. If you can't even admit the obvious, how are we think you're going to have our best interest? And that's the problem that we're having in these police departments. I speak a lot about what happened to Laquan McDonald in Chicago. I speak a lot about what happened to Rodney King 29 years ago in LA. You had an entire entity of a police department that looked the other way when you saw something that was so egregious. How could you not deal with that, let alone the things you're doing behind the scenes? And so I think from the public, we have to want more, we have to demand more, and I think that what we're looking at from entities like the Fire and Police Commission, by the way, is one of the most powerful bodies in the entire United States in terms of having that kind of domain of the police department. It was brought on by the troubles with Harold Breyer, and I know, Pastor, you maybe remember that. But because Harold Breyer was so obstinate about doing anything that he didn't want to do, and he made some very incendiary comments about race when it applied to busing. And the straw that broke the camel's back was him making the analogy that busing black children to the South Side was busing crime to the South Side, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so what ultimately happened is, because Harold Breyer had a lifetime appointment, very similar to a Supreme Court justice, they could not remove him from that position. So what they did is they went to the state, and they had the laws put in place, so things changed to give the Fire and Police Commission domain over the police department. And that ultimately forced his hand, and he refused to be administered to by a civilian body, so he left the department, and that's how we got to this point. So that body has been a very powerful body, but time after time after time, they have failed, in my opinion, in their duties to do what is in the best interest of the citizens in the city. And we all know, if anyone had looked at the news over the last few days, we paid out $40 million in the last 10 years regarding incidents involving police misconduct or misapplication of certain things, and it doesn't appear to be stemming. And so we need to do a far better job in that. And Pastor, I am glad, again, I can't say how happy I am that you are coming out into the forefront, being more visible in terms of the community and doing things. And you have done this, in the past. Do you think that the role of pastors and people who are running congregations needs to be more apparent in the community?
Well, yes. Well, if we follow our tradition, in the whole civil rights movement, it was launched by, the church, and everyone didn't get on board. Every pastor didn't do that, and Martin Luther King had his opposition from some of the preachers and some of the people, for whatever fear they may have had, or some may have felt that it wasn't their role in that place. However, but I think that because we minister in the city, we've invested in the city. Our congregations, the majority of them are residents of the city. We have to drive in the streets. We're concerned about their welfare and well-being, and so if we're the place, we being the church, if we're the place that politicians want to visit when they're trying to get elected, and they want to speak to the people, then we have to speak for the people to those very politicians when matters of welfare of life, education, employment, justice, or whatever is impacting their lives. It's our role and responsibility. If you're going to be prophetic from the pulpit, in the scriptures, the prophets of old, they had no problem. You were saying speak your truth. They had no problem with speaking truth to power. And we have to have that kind of courage to continue to be the voice of truth, the voice of what is right, regardless of who that individual may be. If we truly believe in our God and that He is with us and behind us, we can't fear any man.
Amen to that. We're going to take one more caller. Then when we come back, I want to talk to Vaun about what you want to see in reform in the police department and in some of the city government because of the things you've encountered with your activism.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take this one call real quick. Can we take this call? Well, caller, I see you. Hold on with us through the break. We have to take a break. We'll be back on Speaker Truth.
It's that time of year where you or someone you know would love to have a turkey for Thanksgiving. Well, on behalf of the New Pitts Mortuary, Century Foods, and WNOV The Voice, you will have a chance to win one. Be the 8th or 9th caller whenever you hear.
No, we just came. Just a bunch of us got together on a little call because we all have like
On
the
Saturday,
same
November 21st, you can pick up your turkey at Century Foods on 92nd and Lakewood. So when you
we have
hear,
not formally organized, but I think we came together. You were at the lunch, right? We had the lunch and Obama's there. And
I wanted to speak on that too, because people had questions like, why did they do that? What was their purpose? You know what I mean? So I haven't really spoken much.
as well as ours, turkey
Why did we do what?
certificate.
Had a press conference?
Yeah, like why did y'all come out in support of him? I mean, people ask me that, but I think them knowing that I was there, and I think people got questions about Hoyt after the last town hall. But in those two meetings, I really appreciate what I saw from them.
And welcome back to Speak Your Truth. We are here with community activist Vaun Mays and Pastor McNicholas from Christ the King Church. Vaun, before we went to break, I wanted you to speak a little bit on what you see as the need for police reform and some other issues that you see as a result of the activism that you've been involved in.
Well, one of the things that I'm very adamant about, with activism, is pressing, like you said, that disconnect between these entities, whether it be the mayor's office, whether it be the FPC, whether it be the common council, whether it be Speaker Vaun and his task force, the state, their connection to people in the community, and not just pastors or not just churches, people who are out there daily or often consistently doing this work. That piece is missing, and it needs to be there. There's so many things that happen on a day-to-day level that, if things are done more efficiently and effectively, if we have a chief that says nobody talk to this person, or nobody work with the Office of Violence Prevention, which are real things that have happened, then we can't get nowhere in this city if you are refusing to sit down with people who are essential to those changes and to that positive protection and public safety. And so my involvement with members of the Fire and Police Commission, trying to keep that connection between our different aldermen and alderwomen, that's the change that we need to see. The incident that happened on 40th Street, the chief was there. We had Sergeant Pamela Holmes actually call him and call us and ask that he meet with us and figure out a plan right there on the spot to diffuse that situation. He refused to do that, and then later arrested me for a crime that everybody know I didn't commit. So when you have people who posture up and do those type of things, make those type of decisions, and who refuse to sit at the table or refuse to come to the table, that's where you get these ongoing issues where it seems like there's no end to this stuff. we as a community have always raised the white flag, so to speak, and been willing to come to the table and get things done. The opposition usually comes from the other side for whatever reason, and it's unfortunate that we have a government who refuses to listen to and work with. One of the Fire and Police Commission, I believe it was Colcroft, specifically said to Morales, "My vote for you comes under the condition that you work with people and groups that you do like and that you don't like," and he didn't do that.
And for people who know, he's speaking of Everett Colcroft, who was a former lieutenant on the fire department, who was one of the members of the Fire and Police Commission.
Yes, sir. A lot of respect for that brother and a couple other people. That's my role in change is one to almost to mandate that these folks open themselves up in their office up to that conversation and to that access to figure out what's going on in their districts and what can they do better and expand who they're asking those questions to.
And we have a very short time left. I want to go back to the pastor here. Any last words that you would like to give to our listening audience before we go on?
Well, I'm very appreciative to the community and activists in every organization and every concerned individual who are involving themselves in this process and who have a deep love for the city of Milwaukee, would like to see it, see many of the issues that we're facing, be addressed and hopefully bring a sense of community, revive, maybe that's a term I can use, to revive the sense of real community to where we become our brother's keeper.
Indeed. On that note, I would like to thank everyone for listening to the program today. I would like to thank Pastor Wesley McVicker of Christ the King Church. I would also like to thank activist Vaun Mays for being on the program today. I wish you all peace, prosperity, and love. We'll see you next week.
Likewise, peace.